Hey, good afternoon, everyone. How are you? We're having quite the heat time, middle of summer heat hitting, so hopefully you're enjoying yourself and staying cool. So I wanted to ask you a couple of questions. I know I have talked a lot about the need to clean up your diet and take out what I call the fake food, the processed foods, the packaged processed stuff. Hello, Elizabeth. Foods that are loaded with fat, with chemicals, preservatives, animal products, things that are really very unhealthy. And to really understand what those foodstuffs are doing to your health, how does your body respond to them, and understand that it's really not doing you any favors to eat the typical standard American diet, the fast foods, packaged foods, processed chain restaurants, so many different things in our society. The food supply is so unhealthy. So the question then becomes, what do you replace it with? I always say eat real food, go more eat real plants from a plant growing in the ground rather than a manufacturing plant owned by a corporation. So what does that actually look like? How would you actually start doing that? So I'll just give you some tips and ideas for that today. Hello, thanks for tuning in. And when I first started thinking about changing my diet and eating differently, eating more healthy, more plant-based, more real foods, then I was confronted with this big question of, what do I eat then? You may be doing the same thing. It's like, what do I eat if I'm not doing the standard typical thing of what I've been taught all my life, all the pastas and the pastries and the breads and the, meat, the dairy, the cereal. Cold cereal was a big thing for me. I grew up on cold cereal and bread. So to replace some of those things for more healthy replacements, then there's a transition period. And since I'm not one to be a big cook, I don't know about you guys, but I don't really like to cook that much. And so I've had to learn how to do a few things and know where to look for food that's a lot more healthy and plant-based. So one of the things that I did right off the bat, and this is many years ago now, but I found a couple of vegetarian books, cookbooks, and now you'd be consider them plant-based books, cookbooks, but just find a few recipe books and thumb through them to look at the pictures, look at the recipes, and just see if what's there feels and seems appealing to you, of interest to you, that you'd want to try out some of those recipes. You can find, at this point, there's blogs online, there's YouTube channels, there's loads and loads of recipe books now. Back when I started, there wasn't that many, and there weren't blogs on food. So there's many more resources now available to you to find things of what to eat. So grab a good recipe book, just one or two of them, and just start playing around. Look at the recipes. If you don't have all of the ingredients, then what do you have? Is there a couple of ingredients that you could switch out? So don't be afraid to experiment and play and get creative and, feel like a kid in the kitchen again. It's easy for us to get all serious and lose that sense of playfulness and experimentation. So pull out a couple of recipes, make them, and start to find maybe just a half a dozen recipes that you really like, that can become your new favorites. It won't take long. And then just make them. Put them on your grocery list. Make sure that they get into your schedule. And then gradually, over the several weeks, over the next couple of months, add in a couple of more recipes. And you'll find that it's really quite easy, especially once you realize the oodles and oodles, an infinite number of recipes and ideas available. You can go on Pinterest and get tons and tons and tons of pictures and recipes of foods. So there's no shortage of what to eat. It's just sorting out what stands out to you, what appeals to you, and then try it. The second thing that I did was I would look around and see in my vicinity in the town that I lived in, what cafes, restaurants, well, there used to be salad bars, I hope they come back, delis, that really focus on good quality plant-based foods without all of the pesticides, the chemicals, the preservatives, the excess oils and the excess animal products. I mean, there's just so much of that. But there's more and more cafes and restaurants that are coming out now, juice bars, that have salads, soups, smoothies, juices, you know, even if they're vegan, so what? You know, that doesn't mean, just because it's a vegan dish or cafe doesn't mean you have to go vegan. The point is, eat plant-based, eat plants, real food. And if it's vegetarian, if it's slightly vegan, you know, whatever, just eat plants. So find half a dozen different cafes and restaurants that you can go to frequently and start going there. Make it a new habit to go there instead of some of the other chains of like the steakhouses, the pastas, the Italian, the Mexican. You know, you can still do those occasionally. Just look for ones that cater to more of a clean menu, that take out so much of the MSG, the chemicals, the excess fat, the heavy animal protein. You know, fortunately, those selections of cafes and menus are a lot more frequent or more to choose from now than what there was even 10 years ago. So that's my second idea. And then the third thing, and this is what I tend to do more than anything, is I will look at my fridge and first decide what foods are about to go bad that need to be used up. And then I'll pull them out and I'll look at maybe like 4 or 5 different foods, vegetables and fruits and stuff, and I'll ask, how will these flavors blend? How will they taste together? What could I make together with them? And I just throw stuff together and experiment and create my own concoction. Again, don't be afraid to experiment and try new things and explore and play. You know, get out of your head and loosen up a little bit and just play. So one of the things that I do, I've come up with this like soup type concoction, is I'll get a carton of vegetable broth and some leeks. I love leeks. Chop them up with some onions, some garlic, maybe sweet potatoes, maybe potatoes. I'll throw in maybe some corn, asparagus, tomatoes, red peppers. There was one other thing, just a variety of vegetables, maybe some olives, maybe some legumes like black peas or black beans, red beans. So just a combination of things. You don't want to get too many ingredients because then it turns to this you know, overwhelming thing. But keep it at about 6 ingredients and just try them out. Throw them together and see what they do. And then flavor them with, you can actually flavor them with essential oils. If you want to know about how to do that, then reach out and ask me. And then I'll just do a little bit of salt and pepper, basil, oregano, maybe some cayenne, some mustard seed things, you know, just basic parsley, marjoram, basic dried herbs, just simple seasonings. I'm still learning about that part. So in terms of herbs and seasonings, I'm not the expert by any means. I just pull out whatever's in my cupboard and throw it in. But just experiment and come up with a dish that's your own. Another thing that I like to do is with my salads, I make them a meal. So rather than just like largely greens and 1 or 2 vegetables, I do what I consider a layering. So I start out with the base, which is like a black rice or quinoa or whole grain legumes, again, black beans, red beans, kidney beans, something that's gonna really stick to your ribs and fill you up for a while. Maybe some chopped up yams or sweet potatoes or potatoes that have been previously cooked. So that's the base. And then the second layer is add in all kinds of chopped, chunky or crunchy vegetables like carrots and beets and broccoli and cauliflower and cucumber and red pepper, maybe some green onion, some olives, but just the nice crunchy ones. I'll also add in often a fruit like an apple or a pear, an avocado. I'll throw in a handful of different nuts or seeds, either sunflower seeds or pumpkin seeds, mixed nuts, and then I'll add a layer of the greens, as many greens as the bowl will hold. So spinach, chard, deep leafy, dark leafy greens, spinach, I mentioned that, dandelion greens, the spring mix of the baby greens leaves, romaine lettuce, arugula, I think I said that. So any type of greens. And then for the toppings, then I'll do a bit of hemp seed hearts, flax seeds, dried cranberries, sunflower seeds, nutritional yeast. What are some of the other things I'll put on there? Just, nice little toppings of things. And then I'll sprinkle it with some Bragg's amino acids and fresh squeezed lemon for the dressing. I don't do a lot of oil. Well, occasionally I'll add in a little bit of pumpkin seed oil or a little bit of flaxseed oil or hemp seed oil, but not very much at all. I'll also throw in couple of big heaping spoonfuls of fermented vegetables. And so just from all of that, you can see it's quite the mix. It's a full meal, and so you can make a really good sized bowl with it. So you just stir it up with your hands, chug it down, and it will carry you for a good long time. So there's some suggestions for you. I can't get my words out. Those are just a few suggestions for you that you can do to make it easy to make it a transition into more of a healthy eating, plant-based eating lifestyle. Again, it doesn't have to be meat. That does not mean you have to go full-on vegan unless you want to, but just go towards, less meat, less fat, less animal product, for sure less packaged processed fast foods, things that are unhealthy for you from this freezer section or frozen dinners. But start just experimenting with real food again. Develop a relationship with real food that can connect you with the earth and with nature a bit, because you're dealing with real actual foods, the fruits and vegetables. So it's easier than you think. You just have to get out of your head and just start playing around and exploring and discovering a few things. So my invitation to you is I have an email list, a newsletter where I send out tips like this every week. I also have a Facebook group where I share tips on how to live a plant-based lifestyle. So if you'd like to be part of either of those, then let me know in the comments below. And I'd also like to know from you, what are some of the things that you've done to bring in more fruits and vegetables, more real plants, or more real food into your diet? What are some of your favorite dishes that you like to do? So you can just leave some comments about that below as well. All right, so thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if you want some more tips or any other topics that you have that you'd like me to cover on how to live more of a healthy plant-based diet. And I will talk to y'all soon. Take care.